What happens when one of the most beloved talk show hosts in Britain faces down a royal guest who refuses to play by the rules? In just 34 seconds, a friendly late-night interview turned into television chaos that nobody saw coming. Jonathan Ross, known for his quick wit and charm, found himself in a battle of words with Prince Harry that would end with security escorting the prince off the set. This is the story of how a simple question sparked an outburst that shocked everyone watching. It started like any other Friday night taping. The studio audience buzzed with excitement as Jonathan Ross took his place behind the desk. His guest for the evening was Prince Harry, there to promote a new charity initiative. The crowd erupted in applause as Harry walked onto the stage, waving and smiling. He settled into the guest chair, adjusting his suit jacket as the applause died down. Jonathan leaned forward with his trademark grin. "Welcome, welcome," Jonathan said warmly. "Great to have you here. Thanks for coming." Harry nodded, but his smile seemed tight. "Thanks for having me," he replied, his voice flat. Jonathan dove right in. "So, tell us about this charity work you are doing. It sounds wonderful." Harry shifted in his seat. "Well, it is important work. Not that everyone understands that." He glanced at the audience. Most people are too wrapped up in their own little lives to care about real issues. The audience went quiet. Jonathan's eyebrows raised slightly, but he kept his composure. "Right, well, I think people do care. They just might not know how to help." Harry waved his hand dismissively. "That is what they tell themselves. But when it comes down to it, most people would rather watch television than actually do something meaningful." Jonathan laughed nervously. "Well, you are on television right now, so hopefully we are doing a bit of both, yeah?" The audience chuckled, trying to break the tension, but Harry did not join in. Instead, he stared at Jonathan with a cold expression. "Look, Jonathan, with all due respect, your show is exactly the kind of thing I am talking about. It is just entertainment. It is not real." Jonathan blinked, clearly taken aback. The smile faded from his face. "I see. Well, I think entertainment has its place, does it not? People need a break sometimes." Harry leaned back, crossing his arms. "A break? Is that what you call it? While the world burns, people sit at home watching talk shows. It is pathetic, really." The audience gasped. Jonathan sat up straighter, his friendly demeanor hardening. "Hold on now. I think that is a bit harsh, is it not? My show brings joy to millions of people. There is value in that." Harry scoffed. "Joy? You mean distraction. You are part of the problem, Jonathan. You keep people numb and ignorant." Jonathan's jaw tightened. "Now wait just a minute. I have had countless guests on this show raising awareness for important causes. We have raised millions for charity over the years. You cannot sit there and tell me that means nothing." Harry rolled his eyes. "Oh, please. A little charity here and there to make people feel good about themselves. It is all for show. None of it actually changes anything." The audience began murmuring. Yes, some people looked uncomfortable. Others seemed angry on Jonathan's behalf. Jonathan took a deep breath, clearly trying to keep his cool. "You know what, Harry? I invited you here tonight as a courtesy. I thought we could have a nice conversation about the work you are doing. But instead, you are sitting here insulting me, insulting my audience, and insulting everyone who works incredibly hard to make this show happen. That is not okay." Harry laughed, but it was not a friendly sound. "Oh, here we go. The host gets his feelings hurt. How typical. You people cannot handle the truth when someone actually speaks it." "The truth?" Jonathan's voice rose slightly. "The truth is, you came on my show to promote your charity, and instead, you are using it as a platform to be rude and condescending. That is the truth." Harry stood up abruptly. "Maybe I should not have come at all. This whole thing is beneath me anyway." The audience went silent. Jonathan stood up as well, his face flushed. "Beneath you? Let me tell you something, Harry. Title or no title, you do not get to come into my house and disrespect everyone here. We welcomed you with open arms, and this is how you behave? Harry pointed at Jonathan. Your house. This is a studio. You work here. You are just an employee, Jonathan. Do not forget that. Jonathan's eyes flashed with anger. And you are a guest who has overstayed his welcome. I think it is time for you to leave. Harry's face turned red. Excuse me? You cannot kick me off your show. Do you know who I am? I do, Jonathan said calmly but firmly. And right now, you are being incredibly disrespectful. I am asking you to leave. Please. Harry took a step toward Jonathan. How dare you? Do you have any idea what kind of trouble you're bringing on yourself? I could ruin you with one phone call. Jonathan did not flinch. Is that a threat? Because it sounds like a threat. And threatening me on my own show is not going to help your situation. The audience started to buzz with shock. People were pulling out their phones. The producers in the control room were frantically discussing what to do. But Jonathan stood his ground, staring Harry down. You think you are so important, Harry spat. You think you matter, but you are just a talk show host. You are nothing compared to me. Jonathan shook his head slowly. You know what, Harry? I might just be a talk show host, but at least I treat people with respect. At least I do not walk around acting like the world owes me something just because of who my family is. I have worked for everything I have. Can you say the same? Harry's face went from red to purple. How dare you speak to me like that? I am royalty. You are nobody. Royalty? Jonathan laughed, but there was no humor in it. You are acting like a spoiled child, and in this studio, on this show, that does not fly. Not with me, not with my crew, and not with this audience. The audience erupted in applause. People were cheering for Jonathan. It was clear whose side they were on. Harry looked around, his expression a mix of shock and fury. He could not believe what was happening. This is absurd, Harry shouted over the applause. You are all absurd. This whole country is absurd. Jonathan motioned to someone off camera. Security. Please escort our guest out of the building. 2 security guards appeared from the wings. They approached Harry carefully, respectfully, but with purpose. Harry looked at them, then back at Jonathan. You are making a huge mistake, Harry said, his voice shaking with anger. A huge mistake. Jonathan crossed his arms. The only mistake was inviting you here in the first place. Goodbye, Harry. The security guards gently but firmly guided Harry toward the exit. He tried to pull away at first, but they held firm. The audience watched in stunned silence as the prince was walked off the set. Some people had their hands over their mouths in shock. Others were recording everything on their phones. As Harry reached the edge of the stage, he turned back one last time. You will regret this, Jonathan. Mark my words. Jonathan did not respond. He simply watched as Harry disappeared backstage, the security guards close behind. The studio fell into an eerie quiet. Nobody knew what to do or say, and this kind of thing just did not happen on television, especially not with a member of the royal family. Jonathan turned back to the audience. He took a moment to compose himself, running a hand through his hair. Then he smiled, though it looked a bit forced. Well, he said, his voice steady despite everything. That was unexpected. I apologize that you all had to witness that. I always try to treat my guests with respect. But I also will not tolerate disrespect toward any of you or my team. The audience burst into applause again, even louder this time. People stood up, giving Jonathan a standing ovation. He looked genuinely moved by the response. His eyes got a bit watery, but he blinked it away quickly. Thank you, Jonathan said, his voice cracking slightly. Thank you all so much. You know, I have been doing this job for a long time, and I have had all kinds of guests. Some wonderful, some difficult. But I have never had to remove someone from the show before. It is not something I take lightly." He paused, collecting his thoughts. The audience waited quietly, hanging on his every word. "But here is the thing," Jonathan continued. "It does not matter who you are. It does not matter what title you have or what family you come from. When you walk onto this stage, you are a guest in our home. And in our home, we treat each other with kindness and respect. That is not negotiable." More applause. Jonathan smiled, this time more genuinely. "I want to thank my crew," he said, gesturing to the people behind the cameras. "They work so hard every single day to make this show happen. They deserve respect. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight and for having my back. That means the world to me." Someone in the audience shouted, "We love you, Jonathan." Others joined in, creating a chorus of support. Jonathan put his hand over his heart. She clearly touched. Backstage, Harry was still fuming. He refused to leave the building at first, demanding to speak to the producers. The security guards kept him in a hallway, away from the main studio. He paced back and forth, muttering to himself. "This is unacceptable," he kept saying. "Do they know who I am? Do they know what I can do?" One of the producers finally came to speak with him. She was a middle-aged woman with glasses and a calm demeanor. She had worked in television for decades and had seen all kinds of situations. "Your Highness," she said politely but firmly, "I think it is best if you leave now. We can have your things sent to you." Harry glared at her. "This is outrageous. Jonathan had no right to do what he did. I want an apology. A public apology." The producer shook her head. "I'm afraid that is not going to happen. You were disrespectful to Jonathan, to our crew, and to our audience. If anyone deserves an apology, it is them." Harry's mouth dropped open. "You cannot be serious. I am royalty. You work in television. Know your place." The producer's expression hardened. "My place is protecting this show and everyone who works on it. And right now, that means asking you to leave. Please do not make this more difficult than it needs to be." Harry realized he was not going to win this battle. His face was still red, his fists clenched at his sides. But he knew when he was beaten. Without another word, he turned and walked toward the exit, the security guards following close behind. Outside the building, Harry stood on the sidewalk. His car had not arrived yet. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through social media. Already, clips of the confrontation were being posted. He watched one video, his face growing redder with each second. The comments were brutal. Most people were siding with Jonathan. "This is ridiculous," he muttered to himself. "They do not understand. They were not there. And they do not know what really happened." But deep down, a small part of him knew the truth. He had gone too far. He had let his frustration and his sense of importance get the better of him. He had insulted people who did not deserve it. And now he was paying the price. His car finally pulled up. The driver got out and opened the door. Harry climbed in without a word, slamming the door harder than necessary. As the car pulled away from the studio, he looked back one last time. Uproaring. The building was lit up against the night sky, a beacon of entertainment and joy for millions of people. And he had just been kicked out of it. Back in the studio, Jonathan had moved on. He brought out his next guest, a comedian who had been waiting nervously in the green room. The mood lifted almost immediately. The comedian made jokes about what had just happened, lightening the atmosphere. The audience laughed, grateful for the change in energy. "So, you saw all that?" "Then?" Jonathan asked the comedian with a wry smile. "Mate, I saw everything," the comedian replied. "I was in the green room thinking, thank God I am not royalty because I would definitely get kicked off this show too with my big mouth." The audience roared with laughter. Jonathan laughed too, the tension finally breaking. "But seriously though," the comedian continued, leaning forward, "what you did there took guts. I mean, I have had difficult guests on my podcast, but I just sit there and take it because I am too scared to say anything. You actually stood up for yourself and your team. That is proper leadership, that is. Jonathan shifted in his seat, clearly uncomfortable with the praise. I just did what felt right in the moment. I could not let him talk to people that way. These people here, they are like family to me. And that is why they love you, the comedian said, gesturing to the audience, because you treat them with respect. You treat everyone with respect, unless they act like a complete... He paused, catching himself. Well, unless they act the way he did. The audience applauded again. Jonathan smiled, looking more relaxed now. They talked for a while longer, making light of the situation without being mean-spirited. The comedian told funny stories about his own encounters with difficult people, and Jonathan shared some behind-the-scenes tales from his years in television. It was exactly what everyone needed. The tension from earlier melted away, replaced by warmth and laughter. During a commercial break, one of the cameramen approached Jonathan. "Hey boss, just wanted to say thanks for having our backs out there. That guy was being a real piece of work." Jonathan patted him on the shoulder. "Of course. We are a team. Always have been. Always will be." Another crew member chimed in. "I have been working on this show for 8 years, and I have never seen anything like that. And the way he talked down to you, to all of us, like we were beneath him, made my blood boil." "Well, it is over now," Jonathan said. "Let us just focus on finishing the show strong, yeah?" They nodded and returned to their positions. The show continued without any further incidents. By the end, it felt like a triumph. Despite the chaos of the hairy situation, the team had pulled together and delivered a great show. As the show wrapped up, Jonathan addressed the camera one last time. His tone was serious, but warm. "Before we go, I just want to say one more thing about what happened tonight. I do not take pleasure in what occurred. I really do not. I believe in giving people second chances, in treating everyone with dignity. But I also believe in standing up for what is right. And when someone crosses a line, when they show blatant disrespect to good people who work hard every day, I cannot just sit there and let it happen." He paused, making eye contact with the camera. "So, to everyone watching at home, remember this. No matter who someone is, no matter what title they have, they do not get to treat you poorly. You deserve respect. Always. Do not let anyone make you feel small." The audience gave him one final standing ovation as the show's theme music played. Jonathan stood up, waved to everyone, and walked off stage. His team surrounded him immediately, patting him on the back and telling him how proud they were. In the control room, Mar, the director, was already on the phone with the network executives. They were discussing whether to air the segment as is or to cut it entirely. It was unprecedented. Nobody could remember the last time something like this had happened on a major talk show. "We have to air it," one executive said. "If we do not, someone in the audience will leak it anyway. At least this way we control the narrative." "Are you sure?" another asked. "This could cause a huge scandal, and the palace will not be happy." "The palace will have to deal with it," the first executive replied. Jonathan did nothing wrong. He stood his ground. If anything, this makes him look good. It shows integrity. A third voice chimed in on the conference call. "Look, I understand the concern, but we cannot protect someone just because of their title. If this was any other guest acting this way, we would air it without question. The same rules apply here." "Exactly," the first executive agreed. "Choice, and think about the message we send if we cover this up. We would be saying that some people are above accountability. That is not the kind of network we want to be." After more debate, they reached a consensus. They decided to air the show in its entirety. When it broadcast later that night, the reaction was immediate and massive. Social media exploded with commentary. Some people praised Jonathan for standing up to entitled behavior. Others criticized him for disrespecting royalty. but the overwhelming majority sided with Jonathan. One tweet read, "Jonathan Ross is a legend. We need more people willing to call out bad behavior, no matter who it comes from." It got thousands of likes within minutes. Another said, "Just watch the Jonathan Ross show, and honestly, Prince Harry was completely out of line. Good on Jonathan for standing up for his team." Even some celebrities weighed in. A famous actor posted, "Respect to Jonathan Ross. That could not have been easy. But he did the right thing. Nobody gets a free pass to be rude." Meanwhile, Harry had returned to his residence. He was still seething, pacing around his living room. He could not believe what had happened. In his mind, Jonathan had humiliated him on national television. He wanted revenge. He wanted Jonathan to pay. He called several people, trying to find someone who would help him go after Jonathan. But each person he spoke to gave him the same message. Let it go. Move on. Making a bigger deal out of it would only make things worse. "But he kicked me off his show," Harry protested during one call. "He had security remove me. Me. How is that acceptable?" The person on the other end sighed. "Harry, I watched the clip. You were out of line, way out of line. Jonathan gave you multiple chances to course correct, and you just kept pushing. What did you expect him to do?" "I expected him to show me some respect," Harry shot back. "I am royalty. You do not just throw royalty off your show." "You are not just royalty, Harry. You are also a human being, and human beings need to treat each other with decency. You did not do that tonight. You insulted him. You insulted his team. You insulted the entire audience, and you did it all on camera. What did you think was going to happen?" Harry did not have an answer for that. The silence stretched on for several seconds. "Listen," the person continued, their voice softer now. "I know you are going through a lot. I know you feel like the world is against you sometimes. But this is not the way to handle it. You need to take responsibility for your actions. Apologize. Move forward. That is the only way through this." "Apologize?" Harry laughed bitterly. "To Jonathan Ross? Not a chance." "Then you are going to have a very hard time moving past this," the person said, "because people are not going to forget. And the more you dig in your heels, the worse it is going to get." Harry hung up, frustrated. Nobody understood. Nobody was on his side. He felt isolated and angry, convinced that everyone was against him. He made 2 more calls with similar results. Each person told him the same thing. Take responsibility. Apologize. Let it go. But Harry refused to listen. Back at the studio, Jonathan was in his dressing room. He sat on the couch, still processing everything that had happened. The adrenaline was starting to wear off. And he felt exhausted. His hands were shaking slightly. He had never been good with confrontation, even after all these years in television. His assistant knocked on the door and poked her head in. "Hey, just wanted to check on you. You okay?" Jonathan looked up and smiled tiredly. "Yeah, I am okay. Just a bit shaken, you know? I never thought I would have to do something like that. In all my years doing this show, nothing even close to that has ever happened." "You did the right thing," she said firmly, walking into the room and sitting down next to him. "Everyone thinks so. The crew, the audience, everyone. You stood up for all of us." Jonathan nodded slowly. "Thanks. That means a lot. I just hope this does not come back to bite us." "Even if it does, it was worth it," she replied. "You showed people that nobody gets to act like that, no matter who they are. That matters." Jonathan smiled. "I'm feeling better." "You are right. I cannot let fear stop me from doing what is right." "Exactly," she said, patting his knee. "And you are no coward. What you did out there was brave." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Jonathan spoke again, his voice quieter. "You know what the worst part is? I actually felt bad for him at first. When he started talking about charity work, I thought maybe he was going through something. Maybe he needed someone to listen. But then he just kept going, kept insulting everyone, and I realized he was not looking for understanding. His assistant nodded. Some people are like that. They use their pain as an excuse to hurt others. But that does not make it okay. You gave him plenty of chances to change course. He chose not to take them. The assistant left, closing the door behind her. Jonathan sat alone for a few more minutes, reflecting on the night. It had been one of the most intense experiences of his career. But as he thought about it, he realized he would not change a thing. He had done what needed to be done. He had stood his ground, and that was all that mattered. He stood up, grabbed his coat, and headed for the door. Tomorrow was another day, and there would be another show. But tonight, he could rest easy knowing he had done right by his team and his audience.